22% of all New Zealand children lived in poverty in 2007.
That's 230,000 children.
In New Zealand, when we're talking about poverty, we're not talking about starving children dying on the street. We're talking about families who are just so much further down the economic pecking order than everybody else.
This means that they're more likely to live in a house that is cold, damp and overcrowded.
They might not have a quiet study place.
They can't afford to go to the doctor or dentist.
Their friends can't stay overnight or for a meal.
There's no money for birthday parties.
They might not have warmer fitting clothes.
They can't always afford healthy food.
They have no money for school stuff.
Or playing sports.
With Shannon being at intermediate, she's had she's had school camps coming up. It's really hard saying to her, no, we can't afford to do it. It's tough on the kids.
I think it's really tough on the kids, especially at their Christmas and birthdays, because we can't get them things that they'd like, you know.
A child living in a household with no working adult is most likely to live in poverty.
But still, 1/3 of children in poverty live in a family with one adult in full-time employment. In an increasing number of two-parent families, both of the parents have to work.
So what prevents parents from earning enough money for their children?
They may be in some low-wage job with irregular hours, which means that if they're on the minimum wage, it's about $12 an hour, but it's certainly not enough to pay the rent and feed yourself with. So what you see with some of these families is that they'll be working 2 or 3 jobs.
I mean, one of the main findings of the report is that the best pathway out of poverty is through paid employment. Now, there are a couple of big provisos to this. One proviso is that parenting is the most valuable job any of us will ever do. And there are people who, I think, make a deliberate decision that they need to invest in their children by being there for them, by being able to attend school things, being home when they get home, etc., etc. And so choosing to be on a benefit so that they can raise their children properly, I think is a very honourable choice. It's one that's not recognised in this country often. So the main pathway out is paid work, but that's too simple because there is not a huge amount of work out there for people who are raising children. You know, it doesn't just happen between 9 and 3. There's a lot of seasonal work, there's a lot of very low paid work out there, so this highly casualised and seasonal work is not suitable for a parent. And again, one of the findings of the research quite clearly is we've been paying people inadequate income.
We get $600 a week, and that $600 goes on food, accommodation, and I mean our rent and our food, and we're screwed after that. We don't have any extra money.
There is now a mountain of evidence from the medical and the social sciences that it impacts on people's health outcomes, on their life expectancy, on their educational outcomes.
I see these people struggle just to do the basic healthcare stuff for their children, and that might not just only be subsidised medications, it's also to be able to just keep their home clean and air, you know, sort of ventilated for these children, because it's more than just medicines and things, it's diets involved, the right kind of food. So yeah, you see a lot of struggle there as well.
Poverty-related cases are very common at Starship Hospital.
As I said, infectious diseases would be our biggest link with poverty. Common illnesses like pneumonia, meningococcus, that's meningococcal disease, like the meningitis epidemic that we've just seen. Cellulitis, which is infections of your skin. These are all linked to poverty in one way or another. suffer from recurrent illness, so if you're unfortunately a child that actually has recurrent respiratory infections, for instance, you can actually potentially end up with permanent lung damage, and we have very high instances in New Zealand of an illness called bronchiectasis, which is permanent lung damage. There's certainly evidence showing that children that live in poor living circumstances are at risk to having sort of more long-term, we call sequelae, so that's consequences. So early childhood illness, if you suffer from either significantly severe illness or recurrent illnesses, you have the potential of going on and maybe not meeting your full potential as an adult.
We should be concerned about child poverty for two reasons. Number one, because it has a huge impact on children and young people and on the future that they will create for us as a society. Secondly, children are people now, have human rights now. I think we have a moral obligation. They are dependent on us as adults. They're dependent on the grown-ups around them to care for them, to love them, to nurture them and make the best for them.
You want to be able to help where you can, where it's practical help. But you want to be able to know too that while you're helping, that these people know that this is their life. We're not going to be in there for too long. And so encouraging them to be the ingenious selves that they are. Everyone has that. I mean, these people survived before we came along, even though it might have been at a level that we did not think was a level that we would probably survive at. For them, that was their reality, and it's to sort of, as you work with them, to open their eyes and sort of encourage them that they can do more for themselves than they really believe they can.
I mean, we don't let our situation get the better of us. I mean, we still, you know, joke around, play, you know, with the kids, and we don't let it get to us. At the moment, my main goal is getting my kids through school, keeping them in school until they're 18. Okay, yeah, I'd love for them to go to university and all that, but I don't really see that happening.
So how can New Zealand help parents and children in poverty?
There's no silver bullet that's going to fix it. Some of it is about supporting sole parents with more income. Some of it is about helping to educate people in low-skilled, low-paid jobs so that they can get better employment. And sometimes it might be a bit of a mix of the two. And I think when we look at welfare policies and social assistance policies, you know, past and projected, they tend to assume this sort of one-size-fits-all solution.
There does need to be a review of the whole benefit system. It is a very complex system. I think there are some disincentives in there. We need to increase the levels of income that people can earn before they're actually becoming impacted. But we need to also recognise that we're making choices. You know, we're a society that's relatively mean in terms of the social supports that we provide to parents and families. I think we can have high expectations if we provide good supports, that parents will do the right things. Their children will be enrolled in a well child provider, you know, they will go and get their health checks, they will participate in early childhood education, you know, they will be screened and make sure that they're all safe and sound and they have an education plan. We can expect those things when we provide good quality support to parents. But at the moment it seems to me that we almost create a cycle where we expect them to do bad and then we give them the means to fail. It's not good enough, because the consequences are borne by their children and we will wear those consequences into our future.
children count.